Welcome back, everyone. Today is a crazy 60-degree Saturday in January. I don't know, never seen that in my life, but it's actually the perfect opportunity to film this video because we're gonna have to be outside a little bit using a chop saw. So in the title, as you guys can see it, this has been one of the most requested videos. People want to know. I have to pull it out, but everybody's always asked me on my old setup, where'd you get the intake? How'd you make the intake? I'm gonna show you guys how to make your own custom intake. It is so simple. It's ridiculous how simple it is. Anybody can do this at home. It doesn't take a lot of special tools. I'm going to show you the main piece though, like the main thing you should buy that's going to make your life so much easier. So when I'm going to make an intake, the thing that I do is I go on eBay and I buy an intercooler kit. Now it's just piping. I really don't care. eBay piping is the same, just probably not as shiny as the bigger name brands, but I buy an intercooler piping because I get a whole bunch of bends. So I get a whole bunch. I get straights, I get 90s, 45s, 180s. It gives me couplers with it. Now eBay couplers, yeah, they're kind of weary, but I'm not running boost, so I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to blow a coupler off. I just need the coupler, and I get a whole bunch of clamps. This kit right here, I'm just looking at it, you know, sizing it up how we're going to do it. We're not even going to touch half of this kit. We're going to be probably cutting one pipe up, maybe two pipes to get it to what we need. But if you just get the eBay, you know, just an intercooler piping kit, whatever size you need, it gives you everything. So if you screw one up, you have extras to play with. This just makes life so much easier. Once you have the piping, all you're going to need now is something to cut your pipes with. I'm going to be using a chop saw. That just makes life so much easier for me. But you can use a hacksaw, you can use a sawzall. Anything to cut piping, you know, and if you got a steady hand, you can cut a straight line or however you need to cut it. And that's it. You know, you don't need to weld it. Welding the piping, it looks a lot nicer. It looks cleaner. It's the more professional way to do it. I agree with you. But I mean, couplers do the same job and you can do it in your garage. So right now, where we're going to start, we're going to put our first coupler on our throttle body. And we're going to start seeing how we're going to run it and follow along. I hope you guys learn, and I hope you guys make your own intake. So I got our first coupler. We're going to get started. Obviously, because of the way I had the radiator hose, I need the coupler and the piping to come this way somehow, right into where the headlight is over here. So naturally, I'm going to use a 90-degree. And this piping, by the way, is all 4-inch. So with our 90-degree coupler in, I could see the coupler is just, it's way too big all around. It's too long here. It's too long coming down here. So I'm going to have to cut this coupler just so I could bring this bend a little higher up here, because the bend is too sharp, pushing it over this way too much. If that makes sense, you guys will see what I mean. I'll give you a better look. So when I say the bend is too sharp, this is my bend right here. And naturally, I usually make two styles of intakes. So I'll make my short ram, which will go here, just kind of sit right here. That's for daily driving. And then when I go to the track, I'll have a coupler right here. So I take the filter off, throw another 90, and then it comes out of the headlight. Well, as you can see how tight that is, there's no way that I can make this work this way. So I'm going to have to move this bend higher up this way. So that way it'll bring this a little higher, and I could put like a 45 right here for my piping. The way you move this bend up, obviously, is you chop it. So we're going to make this this coupler shorter, maybe by cutting up to around here. So this bend is going to move closer this way, and it'll just kind of bring everything over. And if anything, I might cut the bottom, but first, one cut at a time. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut this, I don't know, maybe about an inch. Cut an inch off. We'll start little by little until we get the bend where we want it, and then we'll get our first piece of pipe to run it. So in case you guys are unsure about how to cut a coupler, I wasn't sure at first on how do you cut it, because it's so flexible. You can't put it in a chop saw. It's just going to compress it. So I figured out how to cut it, and I'm going to show you guys. It's really simple, but you just got to take a couple precautions. So pretty much the way you're going to cut it is you're going to put your T-bolt clamp on. Now the T-bolt is because it's more sturdier, and this is going to be your guide with your razor blade. So you're going to squeeze this up, snug this up so it doesn't move around. What I did, just to get as straight as we could, I just got a tape measure and I went all around to make sure You know, I'm 1 inch all the way around. Now we are going to follow the band right here. So as you see, if we follow it, it's going to kind of dig in a little bit. So this is going to be the last section we cut right here. We might just spin the coupler, the T-bolt around to get this straight line again. But essentially you just put a T-bolt on there, just follow that line. This is your guide. Use a brand new blade. That's very important. And you'll get a pretty nice straight cut like that. So there's what it looks like after the cut. Is it perfect? No. You know, you can see some areas that aren't perfect, but it's about as straight as we could get it by cutting it at home. So I'll take that. So now we're going to fit this up, see how it looks, and we're going to keep doing this process until we get the coupler to the size we need. As you can see now, it's a lot shorter on that leg than the lower leg. So this is just going to start moving our bending more. I did a little more cutting, just a little more off camera. It's the same thing. The cuts got a little straighter now. So once I started to really figure out the clamp adjustment, we're going to show you where we're at and where the next cut is going to be. So I'm not sure if you guys could tell about how much closer our bend got. Like I was explaining to you, originally the bend was about right here because we had, you know, a longer leg. So I took out about 1.5 inches from this side, which brought everything, it shifted everything closer. So now we have a little more space to work with piping on this side. So now this is close. I'm happy with this. We're going to leave this the way this is. Now I want to shorten this leg up right over here, and I already put a mark here, and I'm going to show you how I got that mark there. Pretty much the way I'm looking at it is this, because it's shooting straight down, it really does avoid our radiator hose and everything. I'm going to need another 90 to come this way and go that way. So I just grabbed another 90-degree coupler, and I pretty much kind of placed it on top of the rail right here about where the pipe should kick. And once I kind of did that, I kind of got that mark right there. I'm going to cut below it again because, like I said, we're going to kind of slowly work our way to the size we need so we don't cut off too much. So I just kind of laid it out. That's kind of how the piping I'm thinking is going to go. That's why I decided to make that mark. So we're going to cut a little under that mark, maybe 1/8 under longer or shorter, than the mark. Size it up, and if it looks close, we're going to see if we can grab a 90-degree pipe and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's our finished coupler. I'm pretty much happy with where this is. This is about as high as I can go anyway, because even though we're looking on this side, if you look here, the bend is, I'll take this off. I'll put it like that. Our bend starts kinking, a little tighter here. So any higher, I'm not going to have any area for the T-bolt clamp to hold on. So I still need some flat area right here so I can kind of stick the piping in. So that's about as far as we can go. I'm happy with it though anyway. As you can see how much shorter we made it, and we just brought the angle closer to the throttle body this way. So now what I did was I grabbed a 90, and like I said, this is eBay piping, and imperfections everywhere, but it's just not a show car. I really don't care. It's piping. It's going to do what I need it to do. So, hang on. So now what I'm thinking is putting it in kind of like here. That's kind of the idea. So I'm going to chop this up. I have another 90, so I'm not too worried about it, because this is the only 90 or the only bend I'm going to need. Because once I get this to turn this way, there's going to be a filter on this end. And when I go to the stack, I'm going to have a 90-degree coupler here, and then a straight. So honestly, this is the only bend I need. If I mess this up, in theory, I have another 90, and then I have two 180s that I could turn to a 90. So I have piping to play with. That scared the crap out of me. So I'm going to cut. I'm going to try to get a rough measurement of where. I'll make a line. I'll chop it up on the saw, bring it back, and we'll see where we're at. Definitely going to have to chop the other end off too when we're ready. So this is going to be a very short piece of piping, but that's fine. So once we make our cut on our piping, the piping obviously it's all
it's got burrs all around it. So I use what's called a deburring tool. You can get it off of Amazon, off of eBay. I think it was like 20 bucks. Comes with some extra bits, and you just run it around the piping, and it just takes all the burrs off, and I'll show you. This is the deburring tool. It's just a handle with a little, it's not a blade. I don't know what would you even call this. But you can see where the edge is. And right there, that hooks in to the pipe. So here's our pipe after we deburred everything off of it. So it just gives it an area that's not as sharp. For demonstrational purposes, all you do is you'll grab the tool, put it on the inside, and you just kind of go around the pipe, and it'll take all the burrs off. So you can hear where it's getting caught up, and we'll just smooth it out. That way you get all the burrs off, and it's smooth inside. So now we're going to start mocking this up. So here's what we're looking like. Pretty much my idea to reality. I'm gonna have to chop this off a little bit, obviously, to fit my my filter here. But I pretty much made my intake. It's as simple as that. So if I was just making a short ram, if you guys were making a short ram and you had your battery relocated, here's your new short ram intake that is not sucking air from there. You know, it's going to be pulling some air from in here, clamp here, put your filter on, and that's it. So we're going to shorten this up because there's no way I'm going to fit a filter right in here. And by shortening this up, it's going to allow me to put my next 90, which is going to be the next part of this, from here to turn. And we're going to be cutting up that old headlight. So yeah, I'm going to take maybe, I don't know, 2 inches off of this. Maybe 2 inches. I'll mock up a 90-degree coupler on here just to see. And this is all the piping we have. It's about from like here. We're going to be about to like right here or something. Just a tiny pipe, but that's all we need. And then we'll get a drill bit or a unit bit. And probably somewhere back here, we're going to put a hole. So that way we can run our air intake temp sensor just right back in there. Simple, guys. So there it is, everyone. After a little bit more cutting on the pipe, we have a we have a short ram intake that's pretty much ready to go. Like I said, now if we wanted to, just leave it like this. We put our clamps on and put the intake air temp sensor on the back here, or even if I wanted on the pipe, but that's it. It's done. And just for comparison, I have the old piping that I was using, and I just wanted to see. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing, except this was like a 45-degree coupler, as we have a 90, but we kind of almost convert. It's not a 90 anymore. We changed the angle of that. I'm sure if you got like a protractor, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, protractor, you would see the angle. But it's the same piping, just a lot bigger. And I think another key to this is the filter I use. This filter it's a short filter. So if I get my tape measure, I don't know. I left my tape measure, I think, in the backyard, but this is maybe 4 or 5 inches in length. So that's what allows it to really tuck in here nicely. Otherwise, we'd have to really cut this pipe back. Again, I found this filter online somewhere. I was just looking up short filters, and this one, it's one of those filters that has adapters. So I have the adapters. There's so much crap everywhere. I have the adapters here. So what the adapters did was they would, they'd go into the filter, and they'd go from, right now that's with no adapter, so that's a 4-inch opening, and then I had it down to a 3-inch opening right here, so the piping would go in here. So you could change the sizing of that filter to whatever you need, and that was another thing I liked about it. So I didn't even have to buy another filter. I could just reuse that one. It sucks fine. I mean, it's got an opening right in the front right here, so it could get some air coming in that way. It works perfect. So, I mean, pretty much we have our short ram. I like the way it is. I mean, I probably should. See if I find somebody with like a buffer wheel or something. I'd buff it out, make the aluminum look a little nicer, and we'd be done there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my headlight out. I'm going to put a 90-degree coupler with the headlight out because I know it's going to stick out a lot. And then we're going to try to put the old one on. We're going to mark it up to see where we're going to start cutting, because now that's the next step. We have the short ram. Now we're going to make our velocity stack to come out of the headlight and put our nice Pronto carbon fiber velocity stack. Here's my rough idea for how I think I'm going to do it. I've never done this. I have no idea how to go about this. So I'm just going to figure it out. But there's our 90. I trimmed it up again, same concept as the top coupler. The angle was too much. I needed it to come in more, shorten the leg up. So I'm just trying, the way I'm trying to go about it is I'm trying to line this up with the bolt hole. So this would have to be over a little more, something like that, to get an idea where I'm going to start cutting. And I mean, essentially I want it to come out of the high beam light, just because you know, I don't want it to go into the low beam. It really doesn't matter, honestly. Aesthetically wise, I'd like it just coming out of one end, so I still have the headlight if in case I need to turn lights on at the track or whatever. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start trimming this the back of this headlight. So the way it was looking, it's like get rid of this hump right here. So I'll chop all around here, and then once I can get it flush, then we'll start cutting in and getting into the headlight. Probably the best way to do it would be split the headlight and do it that way, but I really don't feel like doing that. I've tried to reseal this years ago. I just don't feel like doing that, honestly. Putting this inside, putting it in the oven and heating it all up. So probably doing it the hard way, but let's see if it works. So there's been about an hour to 2 hour gap since the last clip you just saw, and right now I've been pretty much working on this headlight. I ended up taking the headlight apart. The way I was doing it was, one, super messy, and two, it wasn't working. So I just used a heat gun. I heated up the whole surrounding area of the headlight, and I was able to pry it apart. And I did my cuts. I just didn't want to be too repetitive. It's pretty much take it apart, you know, cut something, put it on, doesn't work, keep cutting, keep cutting. I got to the end. We got the scoop coming out of the headlight, and it looks phenomenal. Here is the final look. So we got the pre-onto carbon fiber scoop with a coupler in here. This light's really bright, so let's see. All right, with a coupler in there, I literally used one of the ends that I cut off when we were making this pipes, one of like the 2-inch or 3-inch sections. It was exactly what I needed to go in between this coupler and then our 90-degree coupler right here. So that's the way that's going. The headlight is still bare. I still have to chop up the actual reflector section of it, but for now, the front was cut. I used a Dremel. I mean, it's a little messy, but it did the job to do this, and then a cutoff wheel to do the back section. So the back section actually took a whole lot off. There, let's turn this light down. Maybe you guys can see. Nah, maybe I'll take the headlight out and show you. But this is pretty much the way it is. I'll have to take these little guys off because there's no way. I have nothing to bolt it to. But if it's clamped to the piping, this is not going to go anywhere. And yeah, so here is our race setup. So when we're done racing, obviously all we're going to do is take this coupler off, and we put our filter right back, and this section should never have to come off. I lied. Actually, the way I got all of this to work was I took this whole section off. I put it on here first and then put this on last, so I was able to do my clamps and everything in here. But I mean, that looks great. I'm actually really happy with the way it is. I mean, the more I'm going to stare at this is marker lines. And, you know, I put a pipe in, I kind of marked, and I started soft short, and it did fine. I might get a file and try to smooth all this out a little nicer. But I mean, nonetheless, it's going to do its job, and I really like looking at it. And it's kind of pretty much straight, and that's kind of, I wanted a straight shot into it. So yeah, I pretty much wraps our video up. Like I said, I'm not going to bore you guys with finding a spot to put the IAT in. I might, you know, I think I'm just going to put a hole in the coupler. It'll just be easier for me. I don't have to worry about the grommet, because I had a grommet on this one. I'm just going to put it in the coupler. There we go. Here, that's how you make your own intake. It really is. It's super simple. I say that for a lot of stuff, but this is really simple. It's just a lot of trial and error, a lot of cutting and fitting. That's pretty much what took the longest, and that's why I didn't really keep picking the camera up, because you're just going to keep watching me cut something and fit it, and that's where all the time is. But it saves you a ton of money. I mean, so the
I've only used, I used one pipe out of this whole thing. Whatever, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to need initially coming into it. So the kit, the intercooler kit, the piping kit cost me about $160. I don't know if I said that earlier, but it cost me about $160. It came with everything, and then most of it was just labor and cutting up the couplers and the piping. You get the gist. You saw it. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope that helped you guys looking to make an intake because you can't find something to suit your application. This is the way to go. Make your own intake. It's so easy, and it's not that expensive. It was cheaper to do, well, setting aside the velocity stack, because that was about like $200. But just for the piping, it's cheaper than any intake I think you can get out there, and you can do it exactly the way you want. Please give me a big thumbs up for this video because I know a lot of people wanted to see this. Subscribe if you're new. This is one of many videos that we have on the RSX. And stay tuned for the next video because the next video, we're pretty much done. So we're going to start scaling our injectors. We're going to calibrate the new TPS. And hopefully she fires, thumbs up, hopefully she fires up. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Stay motivated and keep making those streets louder.